All right, this is the Big Douglas Show. We are here for our very first Overreaction Monday of the season. So glad to have football back, the real deal. Let's start this way, Anthony. Anthony Armstrong, former Redskins wide receiver. When we're watching these preseason games, how much are we looking at coaches trying to figure out different game scripts? Like, I wouldn't have been surprised at the very end of the game, if I think they wanted the kicker to get an extra shot, right? Because he had missed one. So how much of this is we're watching as fans? We have to remember the coaches got certain scripts they're trying to figure out. They'd like to see different plays in action. How much are we watching actual football and how much are we watching, coaches trying to figure things out?
First off, Doug, appreciate you having me. And I can say the first preseason game, there's not a whole lot of scripting going on. It's more of just get out there, go against a different defense, different looks, and just go execute. They want to see guys play ball. Good example is you saw how the offense took a little bit of time to actually get rolling, and then that third drive they got into the end zone and coach pulled them. If they would have scored on the first drive and looked good, I think he would have pulled them then as well. The big thing, you want to see your starters, look good, look like they're ready to go, get them out of the harm's way as soon as possible. Then you start looking at those twos, the reserves, those backup players, let them guys get in, get a little bit of opportunity and just see how if they can carry over into actually playing in the game. Once you do it in training camp, you get to know who you're going against, and people take advantage of that. But then when the lights are on, sometimes they hide, but sometimes they show up. So that's what's big thing for the first preseason game. Preseason game number 2 is the one that I like to focus on the most.
Mike Callow is joining us. He's the producer of the Bram Weinstein Show. We're always glad to have him. It's been too long, Mike, since you've been on. I think last time I had you on, we were still doing audio only, so that shows you how long it's been. Glad to have you back on as our resident uniform and hat man. How did the white stack up, and where does that helmet stack up in your mind in the league? Because it's fresh.
So I want to say this: one, thanks for having me on, Doug, again, and two, I know for a fact the team was actually testing out different shades and stuff on HD cameras. Like I can confirm that they were really looking at how it would look on TV, and I've got to say they looked so clean. I think the whites were the most scrutinized when that first launch happened. Yes. When everything came out, and they have grown on me, man. Like for me, they are clean. White on white. I think a white helmet should also be in the future at some point with them, just because I think the white on white with this team is so historic. There's always playoff runs with it somehow, some way, right? And the helmet, man, same thing. The matte instead of the old shiny one. I mean, I know everyone misses the Redskins helmet, but I think the matte helmet just looked clean to me. I think it looks way better than everyone thought it would, to be completely honest.
I had been told that the numbers on the whites was something new that they were using, and that in motion they would fill in and look like solid colors. They did. Yeah, they look really clean in motion. I know they plan on wearing the burgundy trousers, as the Georgia Bulldogs call them, and a black pant with the white. I'm excited about those. And of course, I think we'll get to see the blacks twice. But the W also, I think, is really clean, and I'm excited about.
Yeah, I mean, I originally thought when they were the football team, they were going to go the W route, just to, kind of like I kept saying, do it like the Senators. The old Senators, just a block W, represents the city, super simple, super clean. They went with the numbers, which I thought was fine. And now with this W, man, I love it, honestly. Like it's grown on me really, really fast. I think you heard Jason Wright talk about it on Saturday with the media. He had said that they had basically said it would take a year for some fans to turn things around on the feel of the team and the name. He says it took 3 weeks initially. So everybody's flipping around really fast.
George Carmi rounds out the group today, the editor of Full Press Commanders now. George, you've been at training camp a lot this year. The quarterback situation on Saturday looked like a compliment sandwich. Mm-hmm. Right? They had a guy with a huge arm come out slinging it. Then you have Heineke, who I like, but, man, you could tell the difference in the arm talent. And then we wrapped with Howell, and you could see some more of the arm talent I think Carson has, about the same arm talent.
Yeah.
How does the ball come out of Carson's hand when you see it live there in training camp?
So first of all, thank you for having me, Doug. I appreciate it. And it has some zip, man. Carson Wentz definitely has some fire behind it. And the best part about it is being 6'5" and 240 is he doesn't have to necessarily step into the ball. You can just tell that he's just a big boy. He's, he's a country strong. We just kind of launch it even off platform. He does have that ability. What I do like about Washington is that they're like in a pretty healthy QB situation altogether. I think instead of like criticizing every quarterback individually, we should be kind of happy with what we have. Like we have Carson Wentz, who potentially could be a mid-level starter, pretty big arm talent, has the potential to be a top 15, top 12 QB guy, more so probably more middle of the pack. We have Taylor Heineke. From what I saw in camp, what I liked about him is his knowledge of the game. He basically throws with anticipation. He throws ahead of the guys. Obviously the arm strength isn't as prevalent as it is with Wentz or Howell even, but just the fact that he knows the offense, he executes at a fast rate. And finally, we have a great project with Howell. And I love the fact that we have him on our team because there's no pressure for him right now, right? In a dream situation, we have Carson Wentz. I'll start all year long. Potentially in a pinch, Taylor Heineke could jump in. And then Sam Howell has that ability. Two veterans you can kind of feed off and learn from. And eventually, maybe next year or the year after could get some playing time to basically maybe take over the reins in the future, which would be fantastic. I know he's got added pressure now after that first preseason game. There's a lot of Howell hype right now, so we'll see how that goes. But I definitely think that it's interesting and intriguing. So I'm keep my eye on them all season long. It'll be a lot of fun.
Mike, they've worked on the song. Is the organization spending too much time and putting too much effort into holding on to the past? We're going to do this mascot search now. I mean, we've got a hog, a dog, a superhero, or a military man. I don't even know what that is.
Right.
Are they spending too much time? Like, to me, keep the fight song. Just let the band play it. Like, there shouldn't have been new words, right? Just
Doug, can I jump in real quick?
The band. Sure, George.
Sorry to interrupt you. So I was at the game when they actually played the fight song, and it's tough. It's hard, man. Like I'm pretty pro team, and I'm always supportive and have the benefit of the doubt. But you could tell that they slowed the tempo down a great deal. And it's not like a ballad now. It's actually it's really hard. Like I was trying to sing and be enthusiastic, get my wife involved, but it's like hail to the command. It's it's slow and really awkward. It's not where you want it to be. So they definitely got to speed it up a little bit because I think the fans trying to sing can't find the cadence because it's we're used to 30, 40 years One Direction. Now we're doing something else immediately afterwards. So there's some bumps in the road that we have to get through. So we'll see what's going on.
It sounds like we got to have a yell practice. At Texas A&M, they do that the night before the first game. They have yell practice, and they all go out and make sure they go over the chant. So
okay, there you go.
Yeah, I can feel you that. I think they got to get a whole new song. I would rather just pick a whole new song.
I agree.
When they add that hail to the Commanders, that is gets a little fumbled. So
I agree.
New song.
I agree.
New
I agree.
song.
Keep it fresh.
So for me, from the get-go with this, when I saw they were using the old song again, I thought that was the complete wrong direction. I thought this should have been the break glass in case of emergency. Like you tried every option. All right, we're going back to the old one. We're going to change a lyric or two up. Nothing else stuck, right? I know everyone wants a go-go version of something, and maybe they could have tried that, but to answer your question, Doug, yes, I do think they're kind of stuck in the old way on this one. They're, as usual with this team, though, they're in a no-win scenario. They change it. There's a sect of the fan base that hates it. They try to do something new. That same sect or different sect also doesn't like it. But I really thought they should have reserved this one for a year or two down the line. I thought we should have tested some other ones. And, they've dug their grave on this one, so they're going to have to lie in whatever that they do. And to your point, George, at least it's the preseason. That I'm trying to be optimistic. The band can work on that. We got a month until the first game. Let's hope they fix that. But yeah, to answer your question, I think a little bit too stuck in the old on this one. I thought this should have been emergency situation only. Do we bring back hail to the Commanders or whatever?
And who will you be voting on mascot wise, Mark?
Oh, gotta go hog, man. How does
it not
a hog?
You're not going superhero on this one, Mike?
Nah. I'm a huge Marvel geek, but this franchise, if you're gonna do a logo or a mascot, gotta be a hog, man. I saw some people say, oh, it should be a German Shepherd to make it Commanders or military. Come on, we know the history of this franchise. Hogs. It's gotta be. It should win in a landslide, I would think, and then let's just see what it looks like.
I think the hog makes sense.
Yeah.
It does. And the only way it feels like that the dog can win is if you get the wolf pack back out They lost the first go around. They ought to be able to, ring the troops back together for this one, but it feels like the hog is a no-brainer. Does it have to be a military hog? I keep seeing like the green army helmet. Is that where we're at now? Are we stuck with military themes because of the commanders?
I don't think so. I think they are saying that like once you vote on the actual mascot, there's going to be different versions of that. So I think it's got like a couple different votes that they're going to go through.
The only fear that I have, Mike and Anthony, all you guys can just jump in on this. I'm afraid that when we pick a mascot, it's going to start being implemented in our clothing and in our uniforms and our helmets and things like that. And people keep saying that's not going to be the case. I think it is going to be the case no matter what, right? So I am pro hog because I definitely, born and raised a Redskins fan my entire life. But I'm afraid to put, I don't want to wear pig gear all the time when I'm walking into the my hoodies and I don't want a pig on the side of my helmet. So I don't really know how I feel about all that. But have you heard differently from, Mike, have you heard differently from anything, or I don't know, what have you guys been hearing?
On that front, no, but you're right.
Okay.
Like as much as everybody's saying, oh no, it won't be implemented. Look, it's the NFL, man. You've seen more alternates now than ever before. Look at the Rams. The Rams said out loud, we want new alternates every single year, just like soccer does.
Yeah. And
once people realize how much money you make off of that, it's game over. Everyone's
fun. That's cool too. It's cool.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna put it on everything though. The pig doesn't beat the W. You know what I mean? I think the W, it needs to be on everything. And then you'll have that one, maybe it's probably a camo military appreciation. That's where you throw the hog on there, right? Key things, small things, maybe a hog patch on a jersey. Like that's it. I don't think it's going to be, I wouldn't go anything above and beyond. You know what I mean? When I was with the Browns, I have one hat that has like a little elf. The little elf figure, and like I think it's real cool, but you don't ever see. I think it's Brownie. I think is his name.
I had the guy Hercules. He's on Twitter.
Hercules,
he's all into the mascot stuff. I had him on the show, and Anthony, he kind of used the Browns as one of his ideas because they have two mascots, right? They have that little elf guy, and then they're also the dog pound. They got a dog. Same thing with the Chiefs, right? The Chiefs have a dog or a wolf of some sort as one of their other mascots. I just like picking one and also having the crest. The crest looks slick on the back of the jerseys also, I thought, at the top.
I agree with Anthony. I think a W is fresh as hell. I think we should rock that on everything. It's intimidating, right? It's like it has that little jagged, with that bold print. It's kind of loud. I'm looking at Anthony's little thing in the back. That W pops right there. It's fresh, right? Yeah. Having a hog, occasionally like on a unique hat, like Anthony's talking about, that would be kind of cool. Like it's like a collector's item kind of thing like that. I just don't want it to be the primary logo or anything like that. That's all I'm trying to say.
No, I don't think they would go that route. Anthony, you actually said it perfectly. Like it would be on the hat or like on the front of a hoodie or something. Fanatics now slaps every logo on everything, so you'd eventually get it on something like that. But yeah, I'm definitely not saying it's not going to go on a helmet. Trust me. Okay. I mean, they have. The W is established. That black helmet is established. I don't see them, going that crazy. But I was pretty much getting at that. Like, if the Browns have that, and Doug, you're right. I think even like I go back to like the 49ers. The 49ers have that crest as well that they put on as an alternate, but it's only on hats. It's not even on the jersey, stuff like that.
Let's jump to the on-field stuff for a little bit. Anthony, I'm curious your thoughts on this. The wide receiver room is getting full. And a guy like Dyami Brown, who doesn't play special teams, feels like it's harder for him to get on the field, particularly if you've got a guy that they like in Cam Sims that gives them a different body style than what they have in the receiver room. He plays teams. Sounds like Dax Milne's got the first crack, maybe the best crack at being the punt returner, which gives him an advantage. It's year 2 for the third-round rookie or second-year man. Where is he sit in the locker room? What's he got to do to make the team?
Find a spot on special teams. Number one, it's somewhere. If you're going to be the other gunner, you got to think that's what Cam Sims is really, really good at, getting down on punt coverage. So Dyami's going to have to find a way to either A, put every ball that he catches into the end zone and be crazy efficient at that, or B, just realistically get involved in teams somewhere. You're gonna have to create some value. I see these guys. Washington's probably gonna keep 6 receivers. You're hurting for depth at linebacker, so 6 is probably the most you can get. Obviously, Terry, Curtis, the Jahan. Those are your top three. Cam Sims, they love him. You mentioned Dax Milne, that's five. That's five. So it gives Diami a chance to be that sixth guy. I think at the most they're going to be there, but he can't be just a only playing receiver. He probably won't be active very many Sundays. His best way to get on the field.
That would be the key there, right, Anthony? He might make the 53, but chances of him actually dressing, not good.
Yeah, I'd rather you play on teams and they can put you in there, because this offense has a chance to be very versatile, moving players in and out of positions. And if he has a good niche on offense and can play some special teams, there's a reason to keep him active. Otherwise, he's just going to be making the trip dressing up for the games.
And would be tough too, because I know they were really high on him when they drafted him for a reason. And
I like him.
Last year, I think, was more a product of the quarterback didn't fit what he did well on the football field. He's got a quarterback this year that can deliver him the ball in a better way, make him more useful. So hopefully he'll get an opportunity that way. But I was just thinking that the other day, if he doesn't find a way to get on teams, I just don't know how he dresses on some days.
Yeah, and then when you start looking at the way that the roster is going to play out, especially the second game coming up, you'll start to see where guys fit in a little bit more. There's a big argument of saying at this point with Logan Thomas out, you probably need to keep an extra tight end. Then you probably got to find a way to keep some extra depth at linebacker and at DB somewhere. So defense probably is going to need to get that extra, tick of a player, and then probably something at the tight end position just to allow a few extra bodies. I mean, until Logan gets back in there, it's kind of just a crapshoot about who's going to be your guy. So receiver 6 at the most, 5 is probably where they're going to stop. So Diami has to make some plays.
Mike, he brought up the tight end room. I'll switch it to you. The Samus Reyes experiment, ended before it ever started. The room is interesting, though. A lot of tall kids form basketball. It looks like a basketball room in there. They're all over 6'6", 6'7".
Yep.
How many? Anthony mentioned how many wide receivers they may keep. I think he kind of, was getting there. They may have to keep 4 tight ends.
No, I think you're spot on. 4 tight ends, and it's all a giant question mark, right? Like,
no,
Thomas is hurt. Yeah, right. Thomas is hurt. Cole Turner, who they drafted specifically to replace him, is also hurt. And then from there on out, I don't know, it's going to be warm bodies, in the Samus Reyes experiment, to your point with Diami Brown, he at least does play special teams,
right.
Which is it's almost shocking to me. A guy who is learning how to play football at his age, he's already out there on teams. And so I commend his effort greatly for it. But, his time came way too fast, essentially. They're clearly not comfortable putting him out there. Yeah, I'm with you. 4 tight ends seems to be the move here. And it's going to be whoever fits in. I love John Bates. I thought he overperformed last year, made some great catches. And, same thing, though. He's got to be healthy, and he's a great blocker. So he's locked in. And then it's who snags really the last spot, who actually contributes too, because they're going to lean on them in, the first month or 2 of the season until Thomas can get back. So 4 seems to be the number.
George, who do you think that 4th one will be? You think do you see a front runner right now? Because it's interesting. The undrafted kid out of ASU is Logan Paulson's favorite out of the whole group. Mm-hmm. But it also appears that the young quarterback turned tight end is maybe the favorite of some of the guys in the building. It's always interesting between the guys that draft the players, the guys that coach them, right? I thought maybe it was Dax Milne. A lot of people are high on Dax Milne for punt return, but apparently there's a lot of people, quote unquote, in the building that like the kid Erickson. So I know I kind of jumped there, but
that's all good.
On the 4th tight end, do you think is there somebody in the lead there?
So it's interesting. I did a 53-man roster projection the other day, and I think the defense, the offense is pretty set for the most part. There's a couple, I guess the big questions would be maybe, are you going to keep a 4th running back? Are you going to add offensive line depth? The tight end depth is definitely something to consider, but for the most part, the starters are set. In regard to punt return and kick return, I think they should err more towards Milne over Erickson, to be honest with you. I think Milne's a pretty good slot receiver. He's catching the ball. He's building a rapport with the quarterbacks right now. I'm actually at a Carolina Panther, a Panthers Nation podcast on my podcast recently, and he said Alex Erickson always fair caught the ball all season long. We don't want him as a punt returner on our team, which I found was pretty interesting. So we should maybe err away from that. In regard to tight end, that's going to be interesting, right? So let's kind of walk through it. Logan Thomas is going to be our starting tight end for sure, right? Then we have John Bates is more of like our well-rounded, like our blocking tight end, more of our pass catcher, but he's going to get a lot of playing time. Cole Turner, like, I don't know if you guys peeped it. I know Mike kind of looks for these things too. Like in that promo where we just had the other day, like the Commanders kick off that promo, Cole Turner was in there. So I think he's part of like our offensive like philosophy and kind of what we're thinking about moving forward. I don't think Simmons Reyes is in the equation. Hodges was it Rodgers, right? Rodgers had a good preseason game the other day, and he had 3 of the first 4 catches for Carson Wentz. So I think, if you're looking at numbers right now, he has the inside edge. So I think I probably err towards him. And it's interesting because he's just scratching the surface. If I remember correctly, I get him mixed up. He's the one that transferred as quarterback into tight end, correct?
Rodgers.
Yeah, exactly. So Rodgers did. So if he's just scratching the surface and he has that upside, that's an interesting one to put at tight end for. So I'm kind of going that way right now.
Mike, another fumble for number 24. I mean, it's not even – I mean, the fumble's tough, right? I mean, he's on the ground. He's a millimeter away from having the knee down. It's not a fumble. But a guy that knows he's got to hold on to the ball didn't hold on to the ball. And that has nothing to do with the running lanes that he just refused to hit. He bounced a bunch of them outside. Shout out to Mark Bullock, who did a great job cutting a bunch of them up. To me, more than the fumbling, is the fact he doesn't see the field like a running back yet. This is year 3. They drafted Brian Robinson for a reason. Let's play one of these call me crazy segments, right? Call me crazy, but Brian Robinson's probably the starting running back before the bye week.
I mean, yeah, I would agree with you, actually. Before the bye week, you might be overshooting it by that. I mean, you saw how Ron treated him right after the first fumble. This happens every year, guys, and it's unfortunate. We go into a preseason game number 1 of like, what are the storylines? Who are we paying attention to? What are we doing? And Gibson just made one for us. Like it should never happen like that. And everybody was looking at the fumbles already, but we didn't even think about it in the preseason. We know that it's happened in the regular season. He makes it a storyline. And, I actually go to Rivera on this one. I would say if he bounced right back to him, nothing to worry about. But the fact he went to Robinson right away and then Robinson just hit the hole like I haven't seen in a long time here. I think 1, people got fired up. 2, Rivera sent a clear message to him. You do this, we cannot play you anymore because, hey, as Rivera said it's year 3. They need to make a jump. And if Robinson helps them make that jump, Doug, you say by the bye week. I'm saying by week 4, man. Like if he looks as electric as he did in the preseason, which is a big if, he's going to be the starter, but by the first month of the season, I think.
The bye week is too far away.
I agree.
If you're waiting that long to do it, I mean, you've gotten to the point where you're like, let's just look at the young guys and see what they can do. And sorry, I had put one kid down for a nap, and then this guy he's trying to get around a little bit, so he's joining in. Hope you don't mind, but I did like what I saw from Robinson, and I'm thinking if I'm Scott Turner, it's not necessarily a bad thing if you don't have Gibson starting. Right, you can use those 2 guys as in a complementary way. I mean, think of a Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara, right? Put Gibson in better positions to utilize his receiver skills. Now you can create some matchups on defense. You might take a linebacker out there in coverage, and it just changes the way that you play the game a little bit, and don't make him run inside the tackles all the time. I mean, obviously, he's going to have a reputation around the league when you play an opposing team. The defensive coordinator is going to put a circle around 24, and they're going to say, punch the ball out because this guy puts it on the ground. And once it becomes a thing in the league, it's gonna stay with you. So best thing to do is adjust, put him in a different position, not like change his position, but find a way to best use him, best utilize him. I'd let Robinson tote the note for the majority of the season.
The problem for Gibson is what we all want him to do, they already have McKissick doing. And maybe McKissick does it better. We don't know. I'm with you, Anthony. I kind of like the idea of – I've said this for a while. Patterson had 70 carries last year. Gibson had well over 200. If we got the number for Gibson down to say 170, and then you take Patterson 70, because I don't see a way Patterson makes the team, and I certainly don't see a way that he gets 70 carries. You put those together, though, and you're getting 140, 150 carries for Robinson. If you let him do it first, then maybe we can start doing some of these mix and match things that I think a lot of the fan base has wanted forever. Anthony, I'm curious real quick. You brought up Scott Turner. I'm a huge fan of. I know people around the league who are a big fan of his and think if they can ever get the offense going, he'll get head coaching opportunities. What do you see from his offense?
Well, I feel like last season you got a little hamstrung simply because you lose your starter and went with Heineke. And I like Taylor. I like what he was able to accomplish. But I feel like you kind of also were missing a lot of pieces, injuries and whatnot. Now you can say, hey, you almost have a full tool chest of people, right? You got young, talented receivers. You got tight end that he'll be back here eventually. He's going to be healthy. And you got a pretty solid, running back room. And you got we'll say a much better quarterback than you've had in the other years here in Washington. So far, I don't think he hasn't done anything horribly bad. I think that he's had to play with, within the realms of what he was been given. But I think this is probably the best roster of players that he's going to have on offense. I would expect to see I want to see an increase in creativity. I want to see an increase of effectiveness, right? Everybody wants to see points get put on the board, regardless if it's downfield plays, if it's, just through a lot of creativity, but going, nickel and diamond, going a lot of horizontal stuff, that's really not going to cut it in this league. People are too fast. So we got to find a way to get in the end zone. So if Scott Turner can get this offense to score touchdowns and instead of having, Tressway show up or have field goals happen, that's going to be key to his growth. And he has this is the right group of people to do it. I think they're in a really good position to be able to increase their points per game for sure.
Mike, is there anything that Daron Payne, I see you, George, I'll get there in a minute. Is there anything Daron Payne can do to get the bag from this franchise?
Well, I mean, that's tough. He just happens to be the next in line of a position they already paid somebody, and saw John Allen last night made top 100. Like, they didn't make the wrong decision there, but they both have just kept getting better. And then drafting someone last year too. I mean, I just think the writing's on the wall. I think if they were going to do it, they would have done it already, to be completely honest. You would have to I think what would basically have to happen is Montez Sweat would have to be terrible this year. I mean, have to play himself out of getting a contract somehow. And then they would say, okay, we're not going to re-sign him after the 5th-year option. We're going to you. I just don't see it happening. It just happens to be an embarrassment of riches. And you can just only invest so much in a defense in today's NFL, right? Like, I feel like within picks and in money, they've invested a lot here. They haven't gotten what they've needed out of them. This seems to be, I wouldn't call it a make or break year, but they need to make a jump this year. And if he happens to be a big part of that, great. It's going to be thanks for your service, on to the next one. But I just think there's too much invested already, with 2 more big pieces already coming up that they love in Sweat and in Chase Young eventually when you have to pay him. So I think they're going to, I think there's an understanding between the two. I think Payne knew he might have gotten moved during the draft. They didn't move on. Rivera is very loyal to his guys. That when you're on the roster past the draft, you are here. We're not going to move on from you. I just think there's a mutual understanding. I don't think he gets paid from this team, and it's, that's the understanding. But everyone knows how great he is. He made strides last year. I assume he's going to make strides this year because he looked great during camp.
Go ahead, George. You had something?
Yeah, I was kind of interested. I was going to ask Anthony a question, if you don't mind. I'm interested in the dynamic of Antonio Gibson. I guess my question is, does Ron Rivera owe him some leverage because he has produced in this league and had about 1,000 yards rushing? And also for Antonio Gibson, does he feel like what's his mental state coming from a player perspective? Does he know that, he's fumbling? Does he know that he's on the hot seat, or does he, from your perspective, would he be like, I kind of deserve the starting role? I was trying to kind of figure that whole dynamic out. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a tough one, because there's one thing that this league will do. They send some messages, and a lot of times they're very loud. You go back to Fedarian Mathis getting drafted, you're like, well, damn, okay, I guess that means that, maybe Daron Payne's not going to be here. Like, that's very clear. And similar vibes whenever you have Brian Robinson getting drafted. Does a coach owe a player anything for his past production? No, not when ball security is becoming an issue. Like, regardless of how great you are, if you turn the ball over, we can't put you out there. Like, I'm sorry, you can pick any great running back, and it would be against that coach's best interest to put him back out there if they have a fumbling problem. The best thing you do is to put him in a situation where it's like, okay, now you have a challenger, and step up. You have to step up to it. So that's the expectation. Does AG think that he deserves that spot? I don't know. I don't know him personally. If he does, he needs to quickly get rid of that thought process and say, you know what? I just got pulled after I put the ball on the ground. I mean, you know it's a thing. It's in the back of your mind. Once it happens after a while, like, for example, like if I had ran a slant and just had a bad experience one time, that bad experience will stick there sometimes. I'm like, oh Lord, here comes another slant, and you're thinking about those things. So he's getting in there running the ball. He's got to be thinking like, okay, don't fumble, hold tight, and then it happens, right? So it's more about focusing on your technique, focusing on keeping the ball nice and tight, and push. Basically, he has to be much. He just has to play better. He has to perform better. Oh, you took it off the wall.
W, you can't resist the W.
My goodness, thank you though. I appreciate it. Young Arrow in the building, y'all.
To piggyback off you, Anthony, I would say this too. There's a lot of fans that think, oh, like, let's move to wide receiver. That'll fix everything. Well, he's still got to carry the ball and tote the rock when he catches the ball, right? So, like, he's got to fix this regardless. I saw a lot of fans saying, moving to receiver. I'm like, he's going to have the same problem. So he's really got to get it figured out.
Yeah. I mean, I will say there's if I'm not a big guy, but I'm running in between the tackles. Yeah. The ball's probably going to get knocked out like that. It is what, so will he fumble the ball if he's out in space one-on-one? Probably not nowhere near as often. Right. But you just, when you get inside and you run inside, you really got to, cover up and get on top of the ball. But then that also takes away your ability to have some vision and to make some cuts. So it's almost limiting him as a player, I mean, like, you have McKissick to do a lot of the things that he's very, very good at, very efficient at. But there's nothing that says that AG can't do that. I wouldn't move him to receiver. No, but
he said that in an interview last year too. I thought it was interesting. He said, hey, listen, there's a big difference between when I was at Memphis doing a little bit of both and mostly catching passes and having corners and safety slapping at me. Now I've got, 320-pound defensive tackles slapping at me.
A little bit different
ball game, literally.
I know when I was in the NFL huddle, I'm looking up at everybody. Trent Williams and just 6'5", 6'6", all across the board. And then I go to the grocery store and then I'm standing over everybody, right? Now, there are big people inside of those tackles, all right? And they have really big hands and they feel like cinder blocks when they hit you. Is fumbling the ball okay in football? Absolutely not, right? But he's telling the truth. He's like, it's not the same. I mean, a DB slapping at you, DB don't want to hit you anyways. So they're slapping because it's on tape. The linebacker is really trying to break your ribs. Okay. Yeah. So there's a big difference in there. We still expect him to do better. And I think he's going to have a strong season. He's off to the wrong start by putting that ball on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Anthony, you said the best way to figure out what's going on is by looking at what they show you. George, I'll ask you, they have shown us that linebacker just is not important to them. Or that we've got it wrong and that they've got the good pieces. But I got to tell you, I understand Mayo saw the plays and understood where he was supposed to be there. He just ain't fast enough to get there. Like, they have put a lot of faith in two linebackers on this team, right? And I guess the third one, I thought the third one was the kid from Michigan, but it's obvious that Mayo.
Blake Hudson, yeah.
Right.
I mean.
Are you surprised that they are not,
I am surprised.
For them, like it is for us, I suppose.
I am surprised. I feel like Washington has had a long history of cerebral linebackers that can't cover over the middle. Hopefully, we can kind of develop that and get. We've seen that with like Mason Foster and a couple of people here or there. I love these guys, but they're good people. John Bostic as well. But yeah, I think I am kind of concerned about it. I'm optimistic that Cole Holcomb will do a decent job at middle linebacker. Javen Davis is a height, weight, speed guy. I do want to see him kind of develop more. He had a couple good plays. I think he blew up a fullback in the backfield this previous game, so hopefully we'll show some growth. But I do think we should have a veteran presence to, help out in the conversations in the locker room, in the linebacker room, to kind of develop them a little bit. The only concern, I guess, is that I think the coaches view David Mayo as that person. He came from Carolina. He was actually in the linebacker room with Luke Kuechly back in Carolina. So he is a knowledgeable person, but at the same time, in this league where people are so fast and slot wide receivers are constantly flying by you in the middle of the field and things like that, you need someone that can be agile and keep up with it. And I'm not, I am concerned. I would like to kind of look into a linebacker to add them, but is AJ Klein the answer? Is he that shifty, fast linebacker? I don't know about that. Jalen Smith from the Cowboys was a liability for Dallas a couple of years ago, so I don't really know where the answer would be. And I think they're looking at safety, and maybe that might be the answer, but it is glaring. I think linebackers and defensive backs are kind of like, mostly cornerbacks are what I'm kind of concerned of with our depth on our team.
Anthony, what's the chance that the defense has switched to a heavy safety pattern and we just haven't caught up to it yet? Like, I think in college, they're doing that a lot, right? Like, it's mostly safeties or converted safeties. It's middle linebackers. There aren't very many, Sam linebackers anymore. It's all guys that can cover. That's what the league's changed to. Are we just not seeing? Is Washington doing the right thing and we're just not seeing it?
I mean, I agree with the concern at the linebacker position. I like Cole Holcomb, but I mean, you can't walk in there with just one
contract here for him too.
Yeah, so he's going to probably end up making a little bit of money. It may not be a huge contract, but he's going to make some money, right? He's a good player. Jamin, we just got to see him play better. He's got the skills, like you said, height, weight, speed. Ideally, we want him to match up with the Zach Ertzes and the Dallas Goederts and those tight ends in this division. Now you have to see. And I feel like it might have to come down to running with a whole lot of safeties. I feel like if you're not moving for a linebacker, even though I know that inside of that GM's office, there's going to be a board of linebackers that could get cut from other teams that they have their eyes on. Don't overlook that. The cut days are still coming up. But I could see them potentially trying to say maybe we got to go with more of a nickel set. More often, right? Bring a safety in the box, bring somebody else down. Percy Butler, all these Derek Force, all these safeties. There's a lot of safeties that are having their name pop up. I think that could find a way to get on the field and just maybe make Jack Del Rio go with very limited linebacker activity all season.
And in a league full of very fast people, you got to tell me as a 6'6", 330-pound, 20-pound man, I never move fast. You got to tell me what it feels like to run a sub-4.40.
Well, so it's you've seen like those Naruto runs where they sprinting like that. It's kind of like that. Things just fly by you. You get with the wind whirring by your ears, and then it's over. So it's super. It's crazy. It's crazy to do it. Everything goes silent. But if you see like tape of it, people kind of just stop and watch, and they're like, "Golly, that's fast." It feels good.
Who's the fastest man you've seen in person?
If I can't vote for myself, not to say if I can't vote for myself, I'll say I know Brandon Banks had a lot of speed. Brandon Banks was super quick, very quick, so he'd quickly get to his top speed in a matter of seconds. There was one guy who was very fast. I was on a practice squad with him in Miami. His name was Todd Lober. You could see him on like a Hard Knocks with the Cowboys from many, many years ago. This dude ran a 4.2. He was like 6'2", 210. Think Pierre Garçon, but like a little bit taller and faster. But he was a basketball player. They were trying to make him to a football player, and it didn't really work. But he was a very fast guy. Ted Ginn's a fast guy as well. Long strider, 800 runner. So there's some talented, a lot of speed guys. But I would like to vote for myself.
You could do that here for sure. We finish off every episode with this, and so I'll ask George. I've already asked you before. I'll ask Mike and Anthony before they go. Mike, I'll start with you. What in your mind makes for a good season this year?
Oh, good season this year. I'd say winning record. Like, if they don't make the playoffs, I could see why they're not going to make the playoffs. But winning record and honestly, I don't want to answer success with success, but a successful offense. Something that is just good enough to complement this defense. I think we as fans, our expectations aren't sky high for Carson Wentz, but we also know, this offense with Scott Turner and Rivera, this will be the, I think, 7th or 8th quarterback that they've used in such a short span. How about I know I'm rambling. How about I just say this? Stability. How about stability is success this year? Let's keep everyone healthy. Let's get a winning record. And, if you're right there with the Eagles and or, the Cowboys at the end of the season, it sounds a little bit like loser talk, but give me stability as success. And then we really make a jump next year when you can invest in wherever you think that they're lacking. I think, winning record and stability for me is a successful season.
You think Carson will have played well enough to be back next year?
Ooh, I think yes. I lean towards yes. I think Carson's going to have moments, and I've heard other people say the same thing, where we go, oh my God, that's the best quarterback we've ever had here, to, oh my God, that's the worst play I've ever seen by a quarterback. And we're just going to have to live by it. And it's almost like he's a more extreme, more talented Kirk Cousins to me. We're going to see him do some crazy things that you're going to have people go buy 11s in the store after the game and go crazy for him. And you're going to see those same people be so mad that they have him, when he makes a boneheaded play here and there. But I think it's going to be live and die by Wentz. I think he ultimately is here next year because I don't see them having a bad enough record to get a quarterback or have anyone else be available. I think he rolls on after this year.
And Anthony, what does young Era think about the upcoming season for the Commanders?
He's pretty excited about it. I'll piggyback on what Mike was saying about Wentz. I think he knows that he needs to play at a solid level to be in this league. So I would expect him to play well. Now, how long is it going to take to make fireworks happen with this offense? Probably not until week 6. You got to really understand it's going to take some time to feel out what do you like to do, and they're not going to show you that much in the offense's first game in the preseason. So that's what I expect from them. What's a successful season? You got to say playoffs. You got to say playoffs, and it's not necessarily you're going to get the bye week, but is there a legit chance to win the division? I would say yes. All right. You look at Dallas, they don't have their full repertoire of players. They're down to CD Lamb, and then Michael Gallup's out for a while. So you could say that they're a susceptible team to actually. Thank you. Oh, we got my arm. You think they're susceptible to be taken down a bit. Not really worried about the Giants. The Eagles are another team you kind of got to watch out for. And I think a winning record gets you into the playoffs. I think you can have success and get into the playoffs. I'm looking for them to be a 10-win team personally. Middle of the season gets a little squirrely. October is kind of scary, ironically enough. But I think that at first I was very difficult on the Carson Wentz signing. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to let the man go out there and play his ball and do his thing and show that he deserves to be here. And there's no reason why he shouldn't do that. All right. I think you're going to get a big season out of a tight end position. It's one of Wentz's favorite positions to throw the ball to. It'll be a good year. 10 wins. I think that's pretty fair. They find their way into the playoffs.
Excellent. Fellas, we appreciate it. George has the podcast. I'll put the link to it when this is over. Same thing with Anthony. Him and Brian had to do a podcast on the Bleed Network. And Anthony, I'll click the link there. And Mike, you guys are always great, man, with Brian's show. What time is he on these days?
We are on 3 to 6 o'clock every day. Get us on 6:30 a.m. in the DC area, ESPN630.com, or you can check the podcast. And just worth mentioning, we have an official partnership with the team this year. 5:30 to 6 o'clock, we do Commanders Daily. Bram gets an interview every single day at training camp. We've had Wentz, McLaurin, Roulier. I mean, we have someone every single day for training camp. And then once the season starts, same thing. We'll have a couple interviews each week, but it's an official partnership with the team. So just want to pump that up for us here. And so 3 to 6, but then 5:30, it's all Commanders talking. It's usually some exclusive content.
And
That's
Anthony,
not
go ahead.
That's not 3 to 6 a.m. is it?
No.
Okay, Lord, I'm about to say
Afternoon.
Dang.
Yeah, you're rough.
And Anthony, you said you guys were going to start doing twice a week, I believe.
Yeah. So you catch me on the Believe in Commanders podcast. It's on the Believe Network, but you can catch it anywhere you have your podcast. But right now we're doing weekly shows. I'll be recording tomorrow night with the former Redskin great. So you guys make sure you check out the next one. Mike Sellers is going to join us.
Love Mike Sellers.
Okay,
So he's going to get on the show, teach you how to lift weights and make muscles.
Gotta listen to that.
Yeah, but during the season, we're probably going to get a little bit of like kind of instant reaction stuff. Looking at the game, seeing what happened. Hell, I got myself a little NFL Plus that's going to give me access to some coaches tape. So maybe you catch out. I'll be breaking down some offense, maybe some defense stuff like that throughout the season. So should be a lot of fun.
And George, how many times are you recording now?
So honestly, I'm kind of just whenever I can, but I think I'm gonna get more. I have a new job coming up in the fall, so I'm trying to find my schedule, kind of find my niche. But right now, after the games, game previews, and things like that, I'm really enjoying the process. It's been a lot of fun, and hopefully I can get all of you guys on eventually in my show. It's been a lot of fun talking football, and it's one of my favorite things to do, man. So Full Press Commanders, part of the Full Press Coverage Network. I have it on audio, I have it on YouTube, so definitely check it out. Thanks, man.
And AAA, by next time we get you on the show, I expect your beard game to be up a little bit. You're lacking just a little bit here.
Say beard, man.
Check it up a little bit. Come on, man.
That would be. I had to get a wig or something like that, man.
Fellas, thanks, man. There's been a whole lot of fun. I appreciate y'all giving me some of your time today.
Appreciate you having me, Doug.